welcome to the next episode of Astrolo-Tea. I'm here with Kylie and we got our teas going on. First of all, let's just say, what tea are you drinking, Kylie, before we introduce ourselves and all of that good stuff?
Today I am keeping it super simple with just a peppermint tea. I'm
Nice.
excited about it because y'all, peppermint is like the bomb for your stomach.
Yes, it
And
is.
warm peppermint tea is doing everything for me right now.
And energizing too, which is good. Yeah, I'm drinking a kava. I have like some kava that I blended in with a little bit of lemon and honey, and it's top notch. So
I've
we
never
got a
had
good
it
tea.
before.
Yeah, kava is amazing. Cheers. Well, we're excited to dive into the topic today, which is all about the elements, fire, air, water, oh my God, earth. I'm like, what's the first one? Earth, fire, air, water, earth. And we're going to dive also into how these elements are connected to each of the different signs, zodiac signs, and also a couple of the different elements like cardinal, fixed, and mutable signs, and how that, what that even is, and how it works in astrology. So we're going to start it off. I think you guys already know us from the first episode, but I'm Shelby. I'm an NLP master trainer. I trade. I'm an entrepreneur. I do a lot of things. And I also love astrology. And Kylie and I connected actually through the investing world. And immediately we're like, we need to start doing astrology things together and sharing about this. So, Kylie, I'm going to let you start us off and take it away so we can dive into this. And yeah, introduce yourself again for everyone.
Hi everybody. Oh, I love doing these with you, Shelby. It's like just seriously such a blessing. And yeah, so as Shelby said, my name is Kylie. I'm an intuitive astrologer. I am also a constant student of the markets, both the trading markets and the stars and the markets of astrology, if you call those markets. But
Oh, yeah.
I'm a constant student. And I am also a serial entrepreneur as a true manifesting generator. And so, yeah, I think we'll continue to get to know each other a lot more because we're doing these weekly. As Shelby said, this is episode 2, and we don't want to take up too much of your guys' time. So I'll go ahead and just kick us off with today's topic. It is going to be an introduction, a very, very basic introduction into the zodiac sign, the 12 signs, and there's different ways to categorize them. Everybody knows the basics of like Leo, Aquarius, Gemini, Scorpio, all these things, but there are similarities and intersections and interactions between these signs, and they can be broken down into what's known as modalities and elements. And so we're going to cover those today. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Got some fun visuals for you guys, and I also will be posting these into the website blog, so you'll be able to review these there. Okay, Shelby, thumbs, can you see? Yeah, everything's good. Okay, cool. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and kick it off. I am gonna zoom this in a little bit. It's a fun little graphic, but I'm gonna make sure that we really can see what we're talking about, since these are split screens sometimes or smaller on the phone. But here we go. As I said, this is our topic for today. 4 elements, 3 modalities. Those modalities are cardinal, fixed, and mutable. The elements are fire, earth, air, and water. As I said, there are 12 signs, and each element has one of each modality. So let's look at what that looks like. But before we do, let's just go ahead and clarify what those words even feel like, what they even mean. So cardinal, this is an initiative, pioneering, developing energy. These are the words that I like to associate with this. It paints you a picture of starting, initiating, helping to develop projects, helping to start new things, helping to pioneer new paths. However, this energy still isn't quite fixed. So it likes to be that initiation phase and then find a new project, right? This is where this energy really, really thrives. And then we move into the fixed energy, though, which is the energy that's going to come in and maintain, sustain, endure what has been started, right? And so as Shelby and I both know this energy very well, me being a Leo and Aquarius rising, her being a Scorpio, and I can't remember your other signs, but I know that you know the fixed energy, and we'll talk about it. So this energy is definitely, it paints you that picture. You can feel into that. It's the one that comes in and sustains and maintains a project that has been initiated by that cardinal energy, and helps to really continue that sustainability and that development of what was birthed into reality. And then you've got your mutable energy, which is going to be the final phase of that, which renews, revitalizes, it wants movement, it likes change, it's curious energy, it's very buzzy. Okay, and so these are important to understand, because not only when certain energies are active in the collective, but also when and where they're active within yourself, you're able to really flow better with your path of least resistance when you understand what your energy may be there to do. And so let's break down the elements in this same way. All right, so we've got our 4 elements, as I said, and each one of these elements has a division of the 3 with the modalities. And so with these elements, we've got fire, earth, air, and water. Fire and air, you'll see, are your masculine or negatively charged, as I'm representing here, because everything is just in terms of energy, right? So that's that energy. Then you have your earth and water, which is the positively charged, the feminine. And we've got, and I might have even flipped that. Science heads don't come for me. Shelby, did I flip that? The negative and positive charge, would it go correctly with that masculine, feminine? I'm not sure. I might, okay, I think okay. Anyways, moving on. Fire, words that might come to mind when we're feeling into this energy: passion, spirited, intensity, heart, excitement. Earth, we're going to feel grounded, practical, structured, provider. Air, logical, social, curious, analytical, thought-provoking, ideas. Water, intuitive, sensing, nurturing, feeling. Okay, and these are just some words to feel into with these elements. But to give you an example of how this might break down and why it's important to understand this concept is because maybe, for example, in a birth chart, if you're looking to see where there might be more use of the mind, more use of the mental, more use of bringing ideas and communication to the table, you would look to see what houses and what placements have air, right? Same thing with when you're trying to understand where you maybe need more of a grounded, practical, slow process, where you need a little bit more structure, where you're good at really developing and providing and structuring things, you might look to where the earth is at, right? Or the lack thereof. So this is really important concepts to understand, and there's so many ways we can apply them, but that's just one example. I'm going to take a breath here, since we are throwing a lot of information. This is very educational, this portion. And I just want to check in with Shelby and see, thumbs up or any questions coming up. How are we feeling so far about this breakdown?
No, I love this. I also think the elements are directly connected to just how our body works and how it moves, and even the chakra system. The elements are just a gift from Creator, from God, right? They're different combinations of the elements that we actually see in the periodic table, which is just different variations and combinations of energy moving together, right? If you look at fire, and how fire appears in our body, it's through our digestive system, the heat in our body. The earth within us is the actual structures of our body, the systems that we have, us also being grounded and rooted to the earth through gravity, and having the ability to go and ground ourselves through our feet and really feel that nurturing from the earth. And then air, we breathe in air every day. We can't live without air, right? It flows through, and our heart pumps it around our body so that we can have just the necessary air. And oxygen actually serves as kind of like, and this isn't the most glorious way to put it, but it's how I learned it growing up. Air kind of serves as the trash man of the body. It goes in and it helps clear out all the detoxing, and detoxes in it. It gets rid of a lot of things that are stuck within us. So that's why breath work can be so healing. It releases a lot of things in our body. And then of course, water, that's directly connected to our emotions, but also for women and men, the sexual reproductive organs of our body, right? So it's interesting how it connects to the body, our physical body and our energetic body, and then how that in turn, we each have different makeups of what elements are more predominant in our field based on our zodiac sign. And this also connects back to Ayurveda, which dives deeper into okay, what elements are more prone in your body, right? What elements do you have mostly that are impacting you and your ability to digest, right? And your skin and your overall health. So it's really interesting how, if you look at each of these 12 zodiacs, I bet you if you look at individual people who are, Gemini, Gemini is an air sign, right?
Yep.
And it's mutable, I believe. So that means that it would be like there's a lot of movement. It's constantly moving, and that in and of itself, I bet you a lot of Geminis who have this mutable energy are also in Ayurveda considered Vata, right? They have a lot of air. There's a lot of things moving, and if you think about the concept of air and how it takes up space, but also how the power it has, it's a force, but it's kind of like ethereal, right? It's all over the place.
Well,
And
there's that direct connection with air and what you're saying, how it takes up space and it's a force, but it's you can't see it. And so there's that direct connection with the mind and thought and air. And this is the air sign. And so yeah, this study, as you're saying, it goes so deep of the connections, the way to see it. And I know Shelby is going to break down like so much more about the energy and how this translates into the physical body, even, and how we can work with our bodies and work with ourselves in this way. But as she's showing you as an example right here of all these correlations with the elements, because really we're breaking down the zodiac, we're breaking down the elements and the modalities, and all of this, as we have said and continue to say, is energy, and it's the language of energy, which is what everything is created through, right? So yeah, and it's also interesting you brought it Gemini, just to play off that as the example. It's a mutable air, and Gemini is, so again, we're seeing thoughts, ideas, mental thinking, communication, breath, lungs, okay? And Gemini rules the lungs, and also Gemini rules the nervous system. And when you think about these connections, mutable and air, no wonder the nervous system is involved there with Gemini, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Really, really awesome connections, and they make a lot of sense, as I think you're about to say, which is where this basic understanding helps to make a lot of things make sense and connect a lot of things. So let's go ahead and just take it a little bit further then with these connections, and then I'll be passing it to Shelby for the remainder of the call to dive back into the very juicy topic that I was just getting like entranced by with what you said with, is it Ayurveda, or say that Ayurveda. I always am not sure if I'm like actually pronouncing it correctly. Okay. So continuing on, I'm just going to show you guys the way that these modalities and elements start to intersect with each other to make up the whole, okay, the whole picture. So we've got all four up here: fire, earth, air, water, and their symbols that they're represented by. And you guys have probably seen these before, maybe tattooed on people or whatever. These are the elements. Fire, we've got our Aries, which is cardinal, Leo, which is fixed, and Sagittarius, which is mutable. We've got our earth, cardinal, Capricorn, fixed, Taurus, mutable, Virgo. We've got our air, cardinal, Libra, fixed, Aquarius, mutable, Gemini, and water, cardinal, Cancer, fixed, Scorpio, mutable, Pisces. So right there, you can just think about yourself and what you know of your own chart, feel into what we just broke down about these elements and these modalities, and maybe what you have quite a bit of. Everyone has everything in them, but it does express differently, right, through placements. So you can feel into your placements, feel into what you're beginning to understand about that and how these elements and these energies show up. And then I want to connect it and bridge it just one more time and actually start to see, because everything in this universe, in this ecosystem that we know, and in this entire universal ecosystem, for lack of better words right now, right, is balanced through, everything has its opposition and its balance. You know, what is the name of the law? I can't think of it right now, but if one action is done, an opposite and equal reaction is done, right? Shelby, tap me in. What is the name of Newton's law? Is it or something? He's gonna laugh at how goofy I am.
You mean like the laws of thermodynamics kind of thing? Or what do you?
I know there's that specific law, but yes, you know, these universal laws. What is it?
Well,
Low polarity?
polarity, I think maybe is what you're going for.
I don't know, and I'm sure we'll get fact checked or fact check ourselves here on Google, but you guys know what I'm talking about. There's these universal laws. We know that this existence operates in this balance, and it's really important to understand that. So let's look at the way that the zodiac sign and these energies actually work in this balance with each other. And so we've got fire connecting to air. I want to point that out first, and we've got earth connecting to water. These are each other's oppositions in the elemental world, and they feed one another even though they're opposite. And you can think about that, even how air feeds fire and or could put out a small flame, and how fire and air's relationship is as well. And then you've got earth and how water feeds into earth, right? And again, thinking about the energies of that feminine and masculine as well showing up here. And so we've got Leo, the fixed fire, then connecting to Aquarius, the fixed air. Aries, the cardinal fire, connecting to Libra, the cardinal air, and so on and so forth. You guys can see these connections. And just to kind of bridge this with one last example, I'll go ahead and bring up, like, for example, I'll play on this one since this is very much an axis that I play on a lot. If you understand Leo, right, you might understand that this is the energy that is self-expression, creativity, big heart, right? We're thinking fire, so we're thinking passion, we're thinking excitement, we're thinking energy like this. And fixed means it will sustain this energy, it will maintain and endure this energy, it will bring this energy to the table. So this shows up as often the people in the spotlight, the royal families, the ones that are out here like, yes, look at me and feel me, right? This is very much that energy when you bridge all that together. And then Aquarius, which is going to be that fixed air, which is more of the mental, more of the observer, right? More of the one that's going to go and observe the group and observe the whole, more of the one that's going to have thought-provoking ideas to bring to the table. And it can sustain these ideas and sustain these thoughts and sustain these conversations and maintain these observations very well. It can get really fixed on these kinds of things, right? And when you think about this, though, it's interesting because there's that polarity of like, well, Leo is the look at me, the fiery, of course, it's like bright and warm and all this energy of fire, as we know. And then Aquarius being more of the observer, more of the mind, more of the one that's thinking, a little bit laid back in this regard. But they're opposite sides of the same pillow. And so to or actually understand them entirely, you have to understand both sides, because although Aquarius might seem like the opposite of Leo, there is still energy within Aquarius that almost kind of feels this internal imbalance of desiring status, but I don't really care about your status, but I do desire status, or desiring to be self-expressive and creative and unique. But at the same time, I don't need you to look at me and I don't need you to have all your attention on me, but I do desire this in some way, right? And so this is really, in order to fully understand even just these signs, you must understand the axis that they play on and the way that they have aspects and relationships with one another. And this is one way to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the educational part then for the day. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here.
I like how you said they're the same pillow, but do the opposite sides, because I think it works so interesting how these qualities are all combined and connected. And then I also was thinking there's also the divine and the divine masculine and the divine feminine that also plays into all of these aspects, the elements and these different qualities. But I also wanted to talk briefly on water, and I wanted to give an example of just like my sign and kind of how it works. And I think it'd be interesting for you to do your just like sun sign and how you see it show up in your own life. I encourage everyone who's listening to think, okay, what is your sun sign? And we're going to dive deeper into sun signs, the moon, the rising, the each individual planet. But I just want you to think about sun sign. And most people know their sun sign. You know, it's the time, the date in which you were born. There's about a month period time that pretty much most people know what their sun sign is. Mine's Scorpio. And Kylie, what's yours again? I'm trying to remember.
Leo.
Leo, right? Okay. So as a Scorpio, I'm a water sign and I'm fixed, right? And as a water sign, I'm deeply connected to that element of water, and it's always been my favorite element. I've always loved it. I've always found out of all the elements, it is probably the most beautiful one. And it's in my body, right? We drink it, we take it in through water and tea, and it's in our world, it's in the lakes, the streams, the rivers, right? It's all over the place. But it's also impacted by the moon, right? It's impacted by the moon and its energy that it emits. The moon impacts the tides of our oceans, and that directly impacts as well human emotions, right? So you have to really sit and think, based on the zodiac sign that I am, the sun sign that I am, what is the element that's attached to that? And then what is the quality that's attached to that? So for me, it's water, and for me, it's fixed, right? And I want you to ask yourself, okay, what's my sun sign? What's the element? What is the quality, right? And for those of you who are fixed, I was looking at this a little bit and I wrote something down. So the fixed signs, I've also seen fixed as being just like they're very thorough, and they just like endure. They're like, nope, this is it. I'm doing this. This is the thing. And you just go for it. And Scorpio adds an even more intense thing to that, because Scorpio likes to go so deep into the topics that most people don't want to talk about or cover. They don't want to be surface level. They go right to the deep stuff, and they don't like to even beat around the bush with the surface stuff. They like to complete things, right? Mutable signs are very changeable, right? They're very versatile. They're good with that change and that shift, and they thrive in that environment. Scorpio's like, no, I need this and this and this. And then cardinal signs are almost like, think of like they have a lot of energy. They have a lot of bursts of energy to get things done, to do things, right? And so I want you to ask yourself, moving into this next, couple weeks in September, what can I learn from this quality of the either fixed, cardinal, or mutable? What in my life am, connected to my zodiac and this quality? What in my life do I need to assess more? Because I know for me, at least, it's looking at what have I been so stuck on that I haven't been making a change, right? What have I been so stuck on and so focused on that it's not working, that I have just not decided to look at something else in my life? And for those of you who are mutable, what have you maybe been doing a lot of and always shifting and changing and moving? And what do you need to ground into, right? What do you need to look at and just focus on, right? What do you need to cut out so that you can hone in on one thing for these next few weeks in the month of September and let that be your focus? And then for those of you, I did cardinal, I did fixed, or no, I didn't do cardinal. So for those of you who are cardinal signs, where are you getting this like boost of energy to go do something right now? Like what is like deep within you that's calling you to go and change something? And really tune into that right now, because we're about to go into this period. We're already in it right now, actually, in September. A lot of planets are retrograde, and a lot of these planets are also connected to the elements and how they interact with our sun sign and just overall our general like energy of our body. And I also want you to think about your masculine and feminine energies, and this could be a whole separate call just related to divine and wounded masculine and feminine energies, because it goes so deep. But I also find how they're all connected to these different qualities and elements that we feel within us. So where in your life are you allowing that grace and that essence of the feminine, and that receiving, and that, allowing and nurturing? Where in your life are you allowing that? Where in your life are you cutting it out? Right. And then to look at the masculine, where are you taking action? Where are you not taking action? Where are you structured? Where are you disciplined? Where are you, really having things that you're just moving towards and going for? And what are the things maybe you're not going for that you want to, but maybe you have some fears there. Maybe there's some doubts there. Maybe there's some limiting beliefs there. So I kind of wanted to leave you guys with those questions to look at, because I really find me moving into this whole month of September. I know you already feel it, Kylie. We just had Mercury retrograde start today. Uranus retrograde like 2 weeks ago. There's what other planets are retrograde? We should do the next call. We should be on retrograde
Pretty
energy.
much everything at this point. Mars is getting there, but it's in its shadow period already. So
Yeah.
I'm calling it already energy that we're feeling that's retrograding as well. So
Yeah.
pretty much everything. Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Mars is getting there, as I said, Mercury, Jupiter. And that first call that we talked about broke down just the energy of retrogrades, which is reevaluation time, reanalysis. And there's a lot of things coming to the surface for us to do that with. I love these questions though, and I'll let you keep going. And if you'd like me to answer any as well, I'm more than happy to for Renee with my sign as well.
I wanted to cover just real quickly your sign as well, just some notes I took down. So I was looking at Leo is a masculine, fixed, and fire sign. So Leo above all represents that pride and that ego and that like see me roar, like I'm like the king, like I have this voice and I'm gonna use it, right? And people in this sign tend to attract attention to themselves. And then, like you said, on the other side of that pillow is the Aquarius, who's like, I don't really want the attention, but I also like kind of do. But at the same time, Leos are, they have that attention grabbing aspect of their energy, but at the same time, they also really require that need to like not be.
But sometimes they don't want it either.
They're like, oh my God, it's always me. Like maybe I need to like take a step back. Maybe it needs to be someone else. Like maybe I need to let someone else have the spotlight. And one other note that I put down was they are very generous, right? They appreciate attention, praise, compliments, gifts, right? And they love to have fun. Like Leos are very fun and entertaining, and they make big entrances and big exits, right? That's like kind of their like thing. And it's so interesting because when you think of a Leo, and I know a couple different Leos in my life, and I'm like, yep, they're all like that. And I love it because it's just like they bring that like fire and that energy. And Scorpio are detectives. Like I am a detective. I gotta figure out what's going on. I gotta get to the nitty gritty stuff. They're all about strategy. They want to analyze and really figure out what's really going on. You know what I mean? Like, you know how when you ask someone like, hey, how you doing? They're like, I'm doing good. You're like, how are you really doing though?
Well, and that's because Scorpio feels and senses because water. And so they are actually interesting analyzers and detectives because they do it in a way in which they are sensing and feeling everything that's actually not being said yet. And that's what's so brilliant about Scorpio is you didn't have to say it and you didn't have to, you left a trail because they're not using pure logic. They are using a deep detective device in their intuition that allows them to sense everything going on underneath the surface. And totally, like you just said, and then they take action logically and do something about it. But that investigative nature is so brilliant with Scorpio, and it's like deeply misunderstood by some people of just how accurate they are.
It's that feminine, fixed water sign. And I also think just to go through real quickly all the zodiacs and like they're on top of their quality, they're also their if they're divine feminine or masculine. So Aries is masculine, cardinal fire. Taurus is feminine, Gemini is masculine. I was looking at Aquarius. Believe Aquarius is
everything that is fire and air is masculine.
And so everything that's earth and water is feminine. And I think that's like, it makes sense because when you think about fire and like air and like what it actually is, it has such a power. It like just burns through and can destruct things, but also can be so powerful and so beautiful with that light. And the air.
That's why Leo's that heart ruler, and it's big passion, big heart.
And there's also like when I think of air, just the power of wind. Like, have you ever been in like a really windy day where you're like walking and you feel like you're gonna get like blown off your feet?
I was not like taken by a train in Chicago when I was little because I had an umbrella and it picked me up the wind and my aunt had to grab me. My feet came off the ground.
That's crazy. No, it's crazy. When I think about the power of each of these elements and then the earth, like when you just like go for a hike and you see these giant mountains and they're just like huge and you feel so small compared to it, but you feel so connected to it. And then of course water is just so vast, the ocean and then a lake and the different energy of different water, like a stream and then a waterfall. And it's just, it blows my mind. And I
Which
think
that's a brilliant way to look at the water with the modalities, because Scorpio to me is that still, it's either icy water that's like frozen, or it's the still water that's like in a still pond that like seems like those ones where you look at it and it's mysterious and you're like, what's going on there?
What's
And
going
then,
on
and it
there?
like maybe could be really deep or kind of murky and you're not sure.
Yeah.
That's Scorpio water. And my mom's a Scorpio. She loves ponds like that with like trees over them. But then also I think about when I think about like the ocean, I think about ponds, like little tide pools of water, and then slipping into the ocean sometimes and coming in and filling the tide pool. I see this energy when I think about Cancer, because and they're cardinal, so they kind of play around right there a little bit with that. And so they can be kind of that like little tide pool, fun, feely water. And then sometimes they can be like, just take all that away and be like the tidal wave that comes in and just F's up everything. You know what I mean? So, and like they can just like come wrecking in with some emotions, or like can bring in, like they initiate emotions, Cancer does. And then you've got your Pisces, which I think about honestly, streams and rivers in the ocean and how they all connect and flow into the ever-ending etherealness of the ocean, which to
You know
me,
what's wild too? I feel like all of these elements and all of these signs, there's just this cycle that's constantly happening, right? It's this cycle over and over again. And in Ayurveda, they teach you about not only the cycles of our body, but the cycles of nature, obviously the 4 different seasons, how the elements change in each of those seasons, and then also how it changes within our own body, what we need to eat during those different seasons, what feels best, because we're not going to go and eat a whole huge bowl of hot soup in the middle of summer. Like that's just not what we do. We go for a cold ice cream, or we go for, you know, something that's going to cool us down, for the hibiscus or the watermelon, right? And then in the winter, going for those fruits that are the veggies that are very hearty and filling and will keep us warm. And so I think it's just interesting to look at like all the cycles of how this interconnects and plays at the human level, at the cellular level, at the like local level, and like where you are and the environment you're in, because every single environment in our world is different. There's some places that are deserts, and then there's some places that are like lush with greenery and waterfalls, right? So, and then zooming out a little bit further, looking at our whole earth, right? How all these elements are always moving and shifting around our world, how water goes up and evaporates because of the heat and goes over to another area and then falls, and then that freezes somewhere, and then it's all connected. And it's just such a beautiful web of life and how we're connected to it as well. So I encourage everyone to take the time to start at the smallest part of your body, which is the cell and the energy, and really zoom out and think about every single aspect from the cell all the way up to the overall globe and our earth and all these planets, how the elements are connected in all of it, and how this energy of being fixed, cardinal or mutable is a part of it as well. Because it's a beautiful dance of the cosmos and of our body and how it's all intertwined and connected.
it is. And that's why we're teaching astrology, just to end it there with like why we keep bringing this topic to the table, because it is, to me, astrology is the language of energy. And as you just said, that it's not just in our own personal bodies, it's in the world around us. It's in, you know, this entire ecosystem is made up of these elements. And as far as we know, even, you know, there could be these elements playing throughout the universe in other ways too. But, you know, for the life that we understand here, our entire ecosystem is made up of these 4 elements in ways, and of this, these modalities, they can be broken down into when we see these cycles of cardinal fixed mutable, cardinal fixed mutable, you know, these cycles that we see and how the elements dance. And I just wanted to say, to bridge what you were saying there, that astrology is clearly a language that speaks in all of it. And there's personal astrology, there's financial astrology, there's astrology that you can do for just specific world events, you know. So yeah, I truly see it as the language of energy. And that is why we're so passionate about being here and teaching it and breaking it down. I hope that you guys enjoyed today's topic, today's episode, and we'll continue to be back every week. What is our phrase that we like to close it off with, Shelby?
It gets better, the better it gets.
It gets better, the better it gets.
Yes. Cheers.
Next week.